Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another of Vendel's Weekly Arcade Quest Tutorials. So up this week we have another Vortiger storyline themed quest. There's also a whole bunch of new stuff that came out this week, as well as a bunch of updates to some heroes, some of which I'm extremely happy about. Actually, pretty much all the updates this time I was happy about, like across the board for all the heroes. So I'm really excited about the new things that have started. This quest is called the Crimson Offensive, and some of the new things that we'll talk about we'll get into at the end of this video. I'll provide a little tiny extra special segment that's like the last 4 minutes of this piece, where I'll discuss a lot of the new things, the new effects, the new outfits. I haven't played the new event yet, but I'm sure it's fun, but I'll show off a little bit of the items associated with that event, and so on and so forth. So this particular weekly quest is really not that hard, but it does feature a couple cool new things that we get to talk about, including the new survival mode and the new specific target hunter mode. These things make it a little bit more interesting in terms of what you have to do, but they don't really alert you so much as to that goal unless you kind of just figure it out. So this first quest is the Followers of Jafnar. If you remember correctly, in last week's weekly quest, we went on a preemptive strike against Jafnar and his Vikings. Now, Jafnar is dead because Vortiger has basically assassinated him, and we are now just surviving an onslaught of his followers as they kind of go into guerrilla tactic warfare mode, I guess. So the entirety of this quest is again focused on Vikings, and you will be fighting a variety of them in different ways. This first phase we'll go ahead now and get into. So phase 1 is a fight against a Raider, a Warlord, and a Valkyrie, none of which are extremely scary except for the Raider if of course he gets you in the fight with all three of them at the same time. However, none of them seem to they all have a good amount of wait time before they actually get involved with you, so you can take them out pretty quickly one by one. I actually beat most of this quest, including this first phase, on like my very first try, and this was effectively just because they're surprisingly easy AI. These AIs, I don't know why, but almost all the way through the quest until the very last phase, I never saw a single parry. I was a little suspicious, and thus I was trying to play it safer at first on this little first attempt here. One thing I did notice that you just saw happen is they will block soft feints a lot. But if you just carry on with just repeated heavies, they are kind of stupid, and you'll very seldom get parried. They also don't generally, though, wait for you to perform execution, so don't do what I did just there. But sometimes, obviously, you can get away with it. I'm pretty sure these are all level 2 bots, rather than level 3, all the way through until the final phase. As far as what you've got going for you and against you in this fight, you've got a little bit of a shield, so just a little extra hit points, and they just simply do more damage with one specific type of their attack. That's pretty much it. There's nothing to really exploit during this phase, but it's pretty easy. Like said, you just saw me like just open up with two just infinite combos here, and eventually some hits just go through and they don't seem to turn anything against you in parry. Therefore, if we're talking about character discussion, I recommend a character with an infinite chain. Berserker or Aramusha or Shaolin would probably do nicely. On to phase 2. So phase 2 is a display of force. This one kind of humored me because I was like, oh hey, they have no modifiers and we have all this crap. This is going to be ridiculously easy. And you know what? It was ridiculously easy, but not quite as easy as I thought it would be. Because I didn't even realize until I'd killed all three of them the first 3 times that there's that little timer up at the top that says just survive. So what that means is they're going to keep coming back and keep attacking you and keep reviving until you actually kill them all. Until the timer runs out, even if you kill them all and have them all dead at the same time. Now, killing them's really easy, especially because of the buff you're given with the ability to knock down on heavies. You can get some really good follow-ups, especially with the Aramusha because of how his infinite chain works and how much damage it does with the side attacks. But it makes it really easy to get off some of your bigger punishes more frequently than you otherwise should. But, you know, they also give you hit points on kills. So this really was easy because there wasn't any, like, amount of hit points that was extremely restrictive or anything. You literally could regenerate everything by just plowing through them on repeat. So you'll see me kind of dink around here. This portion is pretty easy for that reason. That being said, having a fast character and just running away is not necessarily the best choice, especially because of the Shaman and the Berserker in this phase. And they have some really good chase tactics and can apply a lot of pressure to you, so doing so is just not smart. I would recommend actually trying to engage in combat and occasionally get kills, just because it does allow you to upkeep your hit points. I did actually struggle with this a little bit as my Shinobi, just because of how fast he can go down if he gets taken out. But really, again, it's not too bad if you make use of the modifiers, and the Shinobi in particular has kind of a fun game in that his his heavy attacks knock people down, and therefore you can knock people down at range and just kind of troll them really hard, like you've just seen me do. Alright, so now on to Phase 3, In the Lookout. So this one is surprisingly easy based on the buffs that you have. I mean, despite the nerfs that you have, because of the buffs that you get during the actual fight. One of the enemies has high hit points and just general defensive capabilities. The other one regenerates hit points and also has extra hit points. But, as you see, they give you the shield and the sword buff right here at the beginning, which allows you to actually put out a fair amount of damage when you're fighting them and take them out pretty easy. Again, these AIs seem to be level 2. What that means is they're not going to really parry your junk, and so you can kind of just mess around with them however you feel like, sling out those attacks, use whatever hyper armor you attacks without having to risk anything. Don't stress so hard about feint catching them. And it's pretty easy to get through, as you see here. I kind of just had fun with this stage. This was, again, my very first attempt at it, and I honestly wasn't expecting to clear it because I didn't know about the buffs until I got into it. But the stage is very simple. The enemies give you enough of a time gap before approaching you to deal with them, and you can wade your way through them pretty easily. Now, given this second one here does have a really strong hit point regen, that means unless you're putting out really good damage, that you're going to have a very, very long fight. Now, because of the updates, she doesn't get revenge no matter how long the fight lasts, since you're in a 1v1, so that's really nice, so you don't have to stress about that being a side effect of her having a ton of hit points. But one thing that I do recommend is the shield and sword buff at the very beginning does regenerate, and so I make a decision here, realizing that I'm just not making good progress because I have to wait for my stamina to regenerate, that I need to go get the buffs, which I just now saw were coming back up at this point. So I take some damage on my way there because I'm being kind of stupid and just kind of dinking around. Anyways, I realize that fully. But yeah, you go over here, you get these buffs again, and then you'll have an easy time. Now I'm going to show a short clip at the very end of this with my Shinobi, demonstrating just one of the ways you can exploit this area. This is the only one that has an exploit for ledging that you can use. At the very beginning of the stage, before even the buffs on your right, there is a small ledge that you can use to push them off of if you lure them to it. And that's exactly what I do with the Shinobi. I probably could have beaten this quest without, of course, cheesing, but you know, you might as well show the cheese tactic as well. But this phase really is another fairly simple one. So here it is. You see the ledge right there at the corner of the bridge near this gate. And it takes me a little while just because I was knocking her down with revenge instead of doing what I intended to do. But you can eventually just get them off. It's fairly simple to do. Because they're level 2 AIs, they're not going to counter your guard breaks as frequently. And yeah, it's not a big problem. So moving on to Phase 4, this is definitely the hardest phase. And I did clear this with both my Shinobi and my Aramusha, but for the sake of time, I'm only going to show off the Aramusha here. This is a Vengeful brother. And this is obviously you fighting Jarl Jafnar's brother. I didn't realize this because they don't tell you this, but you only have to kill the Highlander. If you kill the Highlander, you win this quest. I wish they informed you somehow on the screen with some icon or something, but they just don't seem to. Now, the only reason this one's hard is because finally we're again fighting an actual level 3 bot. So the other two bots, they revive very quickly if they're killed, whether their friends are alive or not. So what that means is it's kind of pointless to fight them. Getting kills on them is only going to grant you a brief respite, and because there's two of them, it's really not that long at all. Now you'll notice, like I said, this Highlander does actually parry, does actually feint, does actually trick you into attacks and use the entirety of his kit, including being extremely good with his superior block attacks. So I really can't tell you how much I recommend do not just swing out opener attacks at him or dash attacks at him or other things like that, because he'll just turn them around with a perfectly timed superior block almost every time. You need to try to find ways to capitalize or react to what he's doing unless you're in revenge and safe for that reason. That being said, I was very surprised here because I thought after I killed him, I would have to take out the other two as well, but that didn't turn out to be the case. You kill the Highlander and the quest is over. So really, don't put any focus into them at all, and you'll get through it just fine. So that about sums it up for this weekly quest. This one really is fairly simple. There are some cool rewards that you can get from it, and the event rewards are of course available as well. I think there may be some armor and cosmetics that are given to us for this event, though I didn't actually check that out particularly in terms of event, just armor reskins at all. But I think there might be a new set of weapon skins specifically for this event, at the very least based on some of the stuff I saw when I've cleared it with my Shinobi. But with that said, the rest of this video is going to go into just overviewing some of the new stuff that came out. So first off, there are some new bundles that you can buy that include 2 outfits actually, including the event outfit and the new anima outfit, which the new anima outfit by itself is 20,000 steel. So overall, they are pretty good deals, given that most players don't play frequently enough to actually unlock all event gear. It's not a terrible idea to get at least one set if you're interested in having the event gear on a specific character. However, I obviously don't have the steel for it, and honestly, the stuff isn't actually that attractive to me anyways, so I don't go and get it. There is a new ornament that comes with the Vortigers event, and that ornament is available for everyone. It's the one with the wings that I showed earlier. And then, yes, just like people presumed on Reddit and other things like that, we are getting our first range of anima or pet outfits. Now, the anima outfits, one thing I noticed is I was kind of hoping the animals would be more spirit-like, and therefore they'd fit the effect nature more with a lot of ornate stuff, but the animals are fairly simple, and often the effect is not that big. Now this here is the emote specific to the event that you can just get by playing the event or by buying the emote. Actually, I'm not sure if you can get it by playing the event, but it's of course limited time. And it is actually pretty cool, and it also has an effect built into it already, which makes me wonder what it's going to look like with an effect after someone's purchased it. So I'm going to go ahead and show off just the 4 different anima, the 4 different pets. I personally think that the Wulin got the best of the pets. That's just because theirs has the most unique interactions with executions. Whereas most of the other pets, like you'll see here, they tend to, during the execution, instead of being any way involved in it, they just kind of fly overhead, say hi. And you know, it's cool, don't get me wrong, it is, but you know, it's not anything exceedingly grandiose. Also, the samurai, all of theirs have that pink aura to them, which is not in particular my supreme favorite, though I do like the whirlwind pattern. And I'm excited to see what other ones in the anima style we get in the near future, because obviously if they're making this an actual type of outfit set, there will be more to come in the future, and so we will get other choices. So moving on to the Wulin's one. The Wulin's is very much the most interesting. I'm going to show off Vortigers Ascent just a few more times just to show off the different characters that it's with, and this is me again proving that, hey, the Vortigers Hawk comes with every character. You can get it for every character from the event. But getting into the outfit here, theirs is fire-based. This is a phoenix. And what makes this one particularly cool is not only, like I just described, is the phoenix actually interestingly animated as a spirit animal or an effect, but it also has a unique effect on executions, where upon killing the enemy, it actually rises from the death, which is very iconic for a phoenix. It's the whole thing of rebirth and coming out from the grave and all that stuff. It is a little peculiar, but it is certainly the most unique of, I think, the anima interactions on executions. Where again, moving on now to the Vikings, when you get down to the anima execution, you'll notice it's pretty much just bird flies around again. That being said, though, I do like the Viking one for the snow effect, and also the sound effects that the bird makes are really interesting. And I think they do kind of add a unique feel to the game. And in fact, I personally choose effects a lot of times based on their sound. For example, that's why I like the Ice Dragon for the Aramusha. I love the way the sound works with his spin movement. I also like the Cherry Blossom effect for that exact same reason. I like the sound. Sound to me has a lot to do with which effects you choose. So then, moving on to the Knights. The Knights is actually the saddest on execution, I think. The Art in Aquila, it's still flame themed, but the reason I kind of dislike it is she flies by so quick that you barely even see the bird. Therefore, this odd circumstance that the Knights kind of got the shorter end of the stick, effect-wise. But, you know, that happens. There's always going to be one that's slightly less ornate or exciting than the others. But hey, at least their aura isn't pink, right? But anyways, so with that, here's me showing off the final moments with my Shinobi during the end portion of the quest. I wanted to just have this going while I discussed a little bit about the patch notes, which some did include changes to my Shinobi, but I'm going to go ahead and just go through them in order. So first off, Warlord got a buff. Well, much needed buff based on his full block that upgraded his, not his full block, his headbutt that upgraded the stab that comes after headbutt to 15 damage, making it a little bit more valuable, a little bit more worth it, and brings it more in line with other characters. So I'm happy about that. It's a minor change. There was a surprisingly large nerf to Zhang Jun's damage around the everywhere. And I get that his damage was a little overtuned, and I did personally want it changed, but I'm actually surprised at how much they changed it. Quite a few attacks lost as much as 7 damage, and there's like 4 different attacks that lose damage, so it's kind of just surprising to see how much they actually dropped him. Maybe it might have been a little too much, but we'll just have to wait and see. Black Prior did finally get some nerfs, including some recoveries after his bashes, though I'm not sure what bashes will be affected by the Jawbreaker recovery, as it's termed in the patch notes, and so we'll just have to wait and see on that. But some of his recoveries got reduced, and some of his damage, including his light after bashing, got reduced in terms of damage as well. Those are the main character changes. Those are all the ones that I wanted to go over. Certainly the Black Prior one makes me very, very happy, but I'm just hoping it's enough to bring him more in line in terms of his ridiculous defense because of how easy his recoveries are. But the Zhang Jun one was much needed, and also some of the nerfs to Shinobi are good. The Shinobi also can now feint out of his zone, which is really, really cool, and his slide tackle is less cancerous. So I'm really, really happy with this small update, and I think they should do more of these. Well, that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And remember, modifiers modify your playstyle. Vendel, out.